Her Prince, written by Flaming Toast. It was a beautiful sunny day in Ponyville. Most ponies were outside enjoying the wonderful weekend. The one exception was Twilight Sparkle, the new princess. She had stayed inside all day, reading various books on equestrian law.
After all, I'm expected to know what I'm doing.
The room was fairly dark, except for the light coming through half-closed curtains. She had already read these books before, but it couldn't hurt to have a little refresher. Twilight was almost through the compendium of equestrian law when she felt a tap on her shoulder. She glanced away from the book for a moment. Seeing it was Spike, she returned her gaze to the page.
What is it, Spike? I'm very busy right now.
Twilight, you should take a break. Go outside or something.
Spike frowned, opening the curtain all the way. Twilight shielded her eyes from the sudden light.
If you hadn't been reading all night in the darkness, maybe your eyes would be better adjusted.
Really? All night? Well, maybe I should take a little break.
She turned back to the book.
After I finish this.
Spike shook his head.
Nope. You'll go outside right now. You really need to stop shutting yourself inside all the time.
Twilight stuck her tongue out at him.
Fine then. When did you become so bossy?
She joked as she got up and stretched. Twilight began walking downstairs.
I'll only be out for a few minutes. Then you need to let me do my research.
Twilight called out to Spike as she left the library. Spike rolled his eyes and walked downstairs to find something to eat.
I wonder where Twilight hid those gems.
Twilight was barely outside when she saw Rarity running towards the carousel boutique. Twilight was about to call out to her when she saw tears running down her face. Twilight became concerned. She started to trot after Rarity, eager to help her friend with whatever was causing her sadness. Rarity was running through Ponyville with her head down, trying to avoid as many ponies as she could.
Stop crying! You look like a fool!
Rarity looked up and saw Twilight looking at her with a very concerned look. She thought about going to her for a second, but shook her head and continued towards Carousel Boutique. After another minute or so, she finally reached her destination. Rarity pushed open the door and looked around to see if Sweetie Belle was around. Seeing that Sweetie wasn't in the boutique, Rarity flung herself on the couch in her living room. Finally, all alone, she allowed herself to cry.
All alone.
She laid down on the couch and tried to stop crying. She managed to stop crying after a few minutes. She sat up when she heard a knock on her door, followed by a voice.
Rarity, are you in there?
Rarity considered staying quiet, but she answered.
Yes, Twilight. Come in.
Rarity sat up on the couch and waited for Twilight to enter the room. Twilight walked into the room and looked at Rarity.
So nice of you to stop by, Twilight.
Twilight sat in the chair across from Rarity and answered her.
I saw you crying. Are you okay? I wasn't crying, Twilight. You must have been mistaken.
Rarity, your eyes are red and puffy. Please tell me what's wrong. I'd love to help you.
I don't think it's something you need to help me with. It's nothing important, really.
Twilight shook her head.
I'm not budging until you tell me, she said stubbornly, crossing her forehooves. Why is she so stubborn?
Rarity gave up trying to dodge her question. Inevitably, Twilight would wear her down until she answered.
It's about that stallion I met a few days ago.
What stallion?
Oh, right. You were in Canterlot, darling. Well, he was a perfect gentle colt. Everything was going good, even though we only went on 2 dates.
Twilight scratched her head.
Then why are you sad? Did he break up with you?
Rarity shook her head.
No, but he did when I found out he had another girlfriend.
Tears began to well in her eyes.
He what? How can he do that to you? So help me if I ever see that jerk.
Exactly who is it I had to pummel? Thanks for the sentiment, Twilight.
But that jerk's not worth it.
She then burst into tears. Twilight trotted over to Rarity and sat next to her.
It's okay, Rarity.
We only knew each other for a few days. It's not like I even developed any true feelings for him yet. Why does this always happen?
Then why are you sad? If you didn't have feelings for him, why are you so upset?
Rarity began wiping tears away from her face.
Because something like this always happens.
She shushed Twilight as she started to ask another question.
Let me finish.
Twilight nodded.
All my life, I always hoped that someday I would find my prince. That one special pony who would treat me right. But all my relationships have ended badly. I never found my prince, and so many other ponies are finding their true loves. But I'm still waiting for mine. I don't know if I'm asking for too much. All I want is a nice pony who likes me for me. Some pony who thinks I'm beautiful and likes my personality.
Rarity put her hand in her hoofs.
Sorry, Twilight. I know it's foolish to be so hung up about something like this.
She looked up at Twilight when she felt Twilight stretch out her wings and wrap it around her. Twilight was blushing.
I don't think it's foolish, Rarity. You're such a wonderful pony, and any pony who can't see that doesn't deserve you.
She smiled at her.
Besides, you're not the only pony who hasn't found their significant other.
For the first time that whole afternoon, Rarity gave a genuine smile.
Thank you, Twilight.
Rarity leaned in closer to Twilight and enveloped her in a hug.
You always know what to say.
Twilight returned the hug happily. After a few moments, they slowly broke apart, each blushing.
I'm glad you stopped crying, Rarity.
Sorry about that. I just kept that to myself for so long that I sort of just let everything out at once.
Well, next time you're feeling down, tell me. I don't mind listening at all.
Really? You do that for me?
Of course I would. You're my best friend.
Twilight and Rarity were sitting on the couch together, just enjoying the moment. Twilight was about to take her wing off of Rarity, but Rarity blushed and said,
Please don't. It feels nice.
Twilight grinned and let her wing drape across Rarity. Although Rarity felt a lot better, she still had one thought eating away at her, and with each failed relationship, the question grew stronger.
Twilight? What if I never find my special somepony? I've never made a meaningful connection with any pony. Maybe I'll never find my prince. Don't say things like that!
Rarity was surprised by the edge in her voice.
You are amazing, wonderful, talented, beautiful pony, and every stallion in Equestria would be lucky to have you. I know that you'll find your prince, and when you do, you'll be very happy. Do you really mean that?
Of course. You'll make your prince very happy.
Rarity couldn't help but laugh a little too.
Things are going to be fine.
she thought, staring at Twilight's face as she giggled. For the first time, Rarity actually noticed how pretty Twilight was. Rarity and Twilight stopped laughing and stared into each other's eyes.
She's so kind, smart, and likes me for me,
Rarity thought as she leaned her face closer to Twilight's.
Maybe my special somepony has been right in front of my eyes,
she thought. Twilight leaned forward too, and they kissed. It only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. They broke away blushing at each other. Twilight and Rarity looked at each other in silence for a few seconds, until Twilight broke the silence.
That was nice. Nice? That was wonderful!
She grinned, snuggling closer to Twilight.
Does this mean what I think it means?
I think it means my special somepony might have been right in front of me this whole time. Later, would you like to get something to eat?
Twilight nervously shifted around.
Like a date? Mwah! Exactly like one. Mwah!
Rarity kissed Twilight on the cheek.
I'd love to, but for now, why don't we just relax? This is a lot to take in. Sure thing,
Rarity replied, resting her head on Twilight's shoulder. They were lying down, almost asleep, when Rarity started to laugh.
What's so funny?
I just realized something.
Rarity opened her eyes and looked at Twilight.
All this time, I've been looking for my prince, and I think I found my princess.
That's a little corny, Rare.
Oh, be quiet.
Rarity playfully shoved Twilight. Sweetie Belle walked into the boutique and looked around for Rarity. She walked into the living room and saw her sister and Twilight Sparkle cuddling each other asleep on the couch. Twilight's wing was wrapped almost protectively around Rarity. Sweetie whispered at the adorable sight. She levitated a blanket over the pair and trotted upstairs, leaving the two alone.